Okay, we're looking at the test for the second part of Maths and Small Business. I'm just running through how you do the answers. First question is a break-even question. On the left-hand side you have your fixed costs, on your right-hand side you have your variable costs. You've got to add up your fixed costs, you've got to add up your variable costs, and you've got your selling price from the question, which is $35. Then what you do is you work out your marginal income per unit. This is your selling price, take away your variable cost. And we get $9.85. So that means every time we sell an item, we make $9.85. To work out your break-even point, you go 4,260 divided by $9.85, which is your total fixed cost divided by your marginal income per unit, and you get 432.49. Now that must be rounded up to 433 items because you can't have 0.49 of an item. The equations that go in your calculator: total fixed cost at your variable cost X, and the next one is selling price with an X. So the two equations will look like 4,260 because that's your fixed cost, and $25.15 is your variable cost with an X next to it, and then 35X, that line. So on your calculator that will look very much like that, 4,260 at that, and then you go draw and you get your line like that, which is pretty cool. So you draw that, and the things you need to be aware of, and this is worth 4 marks, so you've got to be aware that you get a mark for the title and a mark for both the axes, so your number of items and your dollars, and then you put in your lines. So you've got a cost line and you've got an income at 35. So that's the two you've got at the moment. You need to work out the intersection point, so you can label it, which is in here. Okay, so that's your intersection point. So on the calculator, you've got your graph, just go gsolve, intersect, and it traces it and it draws it there. It gives you an X value of 432.48, that's what you worked out before, and your Y value is 15,137.06, and that is how much money you get at that stage. That's your income. Okay. The next question says, okay, we have a person, another company comes in and sells names for $30 each. Let's put that in. So on your graph, you go back to here, you'd put in 30 each. So you would add in 30 and an X and hit execute, and you'll get a third line there. Then what you want to do is you want to be able to draw that. So just go to F6, go draw, and you get your third one. Notice that went very quickly, but the third line is this one down here, is the lower line. So it cuts across this selling line, or the income, sorry, your cost line. It cuts your cost line at around about there. So when you put that on your graph, it looks something like that, and you get an intersection point there. So you'll have to go back and trace that. So you go Shift, gsolve, intersect. It's going to use the first line, so you go execute. We don't want the second line, you want the third line, go execute, and you'll get 878.35 and 26,350. So it changes where that line is, and you can put those points in there. So 878.35, and your next one is 26350.51. So you can see that your break even has nearly doubled if you add $5 onto your price. So what could you do? Wendy could drop her price, but then she has to sell more gnomes, or she could look at making the variable cost a bit lower so the marginal income per unit is higher, so she doesn't have to sell as many to make money or get to the break even point. Next question is a profit and loss question, and it has all the information listed there. Notice that on here is a purchase of a new car. That's a capital item, and capital items are not included in a profit and loss statement, so you don't even worry about that one. If it asks you to work out the depreciation, then depreciation is on there, but in this case you don't put it there at all. When you scroll down to the actual writing of the profit and loss statement, have a title, profit and loss statement for Bob the Builder, then you start with your sales. Got that over here. Less cost of goods sold is this bit here. You've got your opening stock plus your purchases, gives you a good that's available for sale of 206,753. Your closing stock less your closing stocks, that's a negative, and you end up with 206,753 take 39,455, and you get 167,298. That then goes over here as a negative number. and you get 401,502. And then you've got that's your gross profit. Then your expenses, you have to list them off all the way down here. And then it comes across here as a negative number because that's an expense, and you make a profit of 149,000, so nearly 150,000. The next part of the question says, what options has he got to improve the profitability of his business? He's already doing really well, but if he wants to get better, he might look at saving some money maybe on the telephone or even maybe on wages. A tax question. They're taxed as individuals, so Bob has 71,500 and Wendy is 24,000. So same process for both of them. Bob's in green and Wendy's in blue. So take times add, 71,500 take 34,000 because it's in this tax bracket there. Times by 0.3, add 4,200. Then you add a Medicare levy of 1.5% of his taxable income, and he'll have a grand total of 16522 as in tax. Next one is for Wendy. She has $24,200. She has take 6,000 because it's in this first bracket here, and then times by 15 cents. And notice there's nothing to add it to because there's no money below that bracket because that's the bottom bracket. So it's 2,730 is the tax. Medicare levy is $363, so it gives a grand total of $3,093. Add the two together and it's $19,615 is what they pay together in tax. What they decide to do next is to have a combined income, so they go 50-50. So you add the two wages together, so you've got already what their incomes are from the first question. So you add the two together, and they've got a combined income of 95,700. Sorry, divide that by 2 because it's a 50-50 split, and it means each of them get 47,850. So you work out the tax on that now. Same deal, take times add, then you get $8,355 plus the Medicare levy, which is $717. So each of them has to be paying $9,072.75 for each person. So this is together, you times it by 2, you get it together. So using this method of splitting it 50-50, they only have to pay $18,145.50. The other way around is $19,615, and you save, by splitting the income this way, $1,469.50. So it's quite a nice little saving there. So why does it minimise their tax liability? It brings Bob down into a lower tax bracket, so he has to pay a lot less tax. It does push Wendy up, but together, as a couple, they save money. So it's dropping down into another tax bracket, so you save the money that way. Number 5, the last one is, Bob has a business and he's looking at his work cover. So you add in all the stuff for the remuneration, all the stuff that is possibly to be counted. So your wages your allowances, super, but not this, not the 863, because that's a reimbursement, that's not counted. So his total remuneration for July is 263.90. He has a premium rate he has a basic rate of 4.7 and 1.2 is a penalty. So it means totally his premium is going to be 5.9%. So the levy is 26,390, which is the total remuneration that you worked out, times by 5.9% gives you 1,557.01 cents. The GST is 10% of that, which is $155.70, and OHS&W is Occupational Health and Safety fee is 1% of the $1,557, which gives you $15.57. So a grand total of $1,728.28 is what he has to pay for that month. Last bit is, why would a business have a penalty? How could this be reduced? Could be reduced by putting in place better training and ensure safe work practices to minimise risk to employees. And they may have a bad history of accidents. So if they've got a bad history of accidents, then their levy is going to go up. So that's the reason. And then to get rid of it, you have to put in place better practices. Excellent. That's it. That's the test. So you'll find a copy of this as well on box.net, which will be onto your iPads.